Welcome back to my channel. On this channel, I take a look at companies, value the companies, and then make a decision whether I think I should buy shares, hold, or sell shares in a particular company or a bank. In this case here, I'm going to be taking a look at Midland States Bank, which is a bank that I've invested in, and I'm glad I've done so. I've made some money on Midland States. And they just announced their earnings. So I have a fresh set of financials to take a look at and see what I should do. Should I buy some more shares? Should I just hold my shares or sell my shares? I'll take you through my process. I have a consistent process for banks and take you through that process and then arrive at the decision. Do me a favor and like my video, subscribe to my channel, and comment on this particular video. I'd love to hear your ideas on Midland States Banks and banking overall, what you think is going to happen in this sector, which has been beaten down this year. If you remember, the big Silicon Valley Bank collapse put a big scare in the market, and prices were discounted. But now prices have gone up for banks, which is good for the people who bought shares in banks. Let's call it 6 months ago. So let's get into Midland States Bank. So my process as I look at a banking stock is first and foremost, do I want to be a part owner in that bank? Do I think the banking industry is good to invest in? Is the bank operated and performing well? Is the book value growing year over year? And I want a discount on the stock so I can make money on appreciation. And based on the answers to those questions, I will buy, hold, or sell. Midland States Bank is a bank that's headquartered in Illinois and really caters to its local community of farmers and that type of industry. So it really knows its customer well and really caters to the banking services that those types of businesses need. I really like that. I like mid-sized companies that really focus and provide, I think, a different service, a different product that their customers value. And in this case here, Midland States Bank really does have a really strong relationship with its clientele. So that's one of the things that I like about the bank. I think banks are good to own right now. I think they were discounted in 2023. I think there was a lot of fear in the street and it created discounted prices. So I've been buying into Midland States Bank. I also buy Citibank and I own US Bank shares. And all three are nice and in the green for 2023. So overall, I think the banking industry is a good one on the second half here of 2023. Taking a look at their financials that were released about a week ago, and let's take a look at how the bank is doing. So quarter over quarter, the revenue, net interest income for the bank is pretty flat. But year over year, it's down. I think part of it, they explain in their earnings, is that they're being really selective not to give out every loan that's applied to. They've actually have become, their lending practices have become more risk averse, meaning they only want to lend out to really qualified customers and are not taking any unneeded chances on bad debt. So that's very good. Year to date, revenues are pretty flat. And something that's good about the bank is that they are profitable. They've been profitable. They were profitable a year ago, and they're profitable for the quarter, which is very good. The number of shares outstanding, it's been going down because the bank's been buying back shares. So if you compare where the share count is today and where it was a year ago, it's gone down considerably. So that's really good to see. One thing I'll point out as well is net interest margin. It's been going down. If you look at net interest margin of a year ago, it was 3.63, and now it's 3.2. I think there's an adjustment because the interest rates have really gone up, so they have to pay account holders a higher interest rate. They're also trying to have really good quality lending. So I think you're seeing an adjustment period in the quarter, and I think they're playing safe, which is good. And I think as we have interest rates stay where they're at for longer, that'd be fine. and the bank can adjust and improve their net interest margin. So one of the metrics that I look at is book value for the bank, and the book value keeps going up. If we look at the book value for the period ended September 30th of 23, it certainly is higher than it was a year ago. Very good to see that the book value keeps expanding. One important factor that I look at. So I believe that Midland States Bank stock is discounted by 27%. And I get to that valuation by looking at their book value and trying to determine where their share price is based on book value growth. And also looking at the projected price to earnings and that growth of the price to earnings. And then last is earnings per share value, which is discounting all the earnings per share that I expect out of the bank going forward. Let's take a look at book value first. Book value has been growing at 6%. And I'm going to grow the book value, and this is book value per share, by 6% and then flatten it out later on by 5%. Based on those projections, I think that the current value based on book value for each share is $35.27. Looking at earnings, I think earnings are going to grow faster. And based on earnings, I think the value of the stock is $30.13. If I discount the earnings per share that I expect out of the company, the earnings per share projected for the next 4 quarters is $3.05. A good PE ratio for banks is 10. And based on those two factors and 5% growth rate, I get a value of each share of $22.89. Almost, very fairly priced if you look at earnings per share. But I really like the book values growing, so that's very good. I'm going to factor or blend all three equally to get to that 27% discount on Midland States Bank. So looking at where the stock has traded over the last year, you can see that they were trading, in the mid to high $20 range. And then you had the big banking scare. So it really just sold off. There was no reason for it. There wasn't like something bad had happened to Midland States Bank, but just banks were really discounted. And it was an opportunity to really buy at a really good discount because it really rose nicely. Now, it didn't stay up at the new price. It actually came down. But after its earnings, the bank really rallied. And in fact, if you look at the last 10 days of trading, the stock is up almost 13%. Last 5 days up 10%. So that's outperforming the S&P for the last, really for the last month. So the bank stocks are really rallying. It's good to see that. I hope they continue to rally up. I have a value of Midland States Bank of $29.43. So it provides, a nice little cushion of value between the current stock price and the value that I have on the stock. One last thing is that they pay a dividend of 5.19. Very good. And year to date, the stock is down 13%, mostly because of the banking scare, but not due to performance of this individual bank. So let me scorecard Midland States Bank. I think the bank is a good bank, good industry to buy into this year. It's really been rallying lately. So most definitely a check mark on number 1. I think the management team's doing a great job over at Midland States Bank. So check mark there. Book value is growing for Midland States Bank. Check mark. But the stock's really rallied. And the amount of discount available on this stock is not very high. I think if you can look at other banks and you could probably see a nicer discount. Specifically, I'm buying into US Bank and Citibank, and those give me a better discount on the stock. So I'm going to be buying shares in those, but I'm going to be holding off from buying more shares in Midland States Bank. I think it's a terrific bank. They pay over a 5% dividend, which is very good. They can afford that dividend, but I'm just going to hold off from buying shares at Midland States Bank. Give them a quarter to see how their performance changed and where the stock price has gone at that point. And that is my video on Midland States Bank. I hope you found it interesting. I'd love to hear your comments on Midland States Bank and in just banking in general, if you think stocks in the banking industry are worth owning at this time. Do me a favor and like my video, subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate that. And good luck investing for the remainder of 2023.